So yeah, I wanted to share you a personal project that I did for myself. I'm going to explain my journey with it and the fact that I published my app to the store, and it was kind of successful. Successful is a very relative adjective, right? It can be like, I don't know, for some people it can be 1 million users, 10 million users. Of course, I don't have 1 million users yet, but I have users that are happy. They are asking for features. So yeah, so I'm just going to share everything that I did, and of course, feedbacks and takeaways that I have from publishing it to the store. So this is me, I'm Elaine. I work for Sphere. Sphere is a French agency. I work mostly with mobile development. I'm a specialist with Android development. I did some iOS too. I'm also really interested in voice interactions using mobile or not. So, but also with voice assistants like Google Assistant and others. And I'm really glad that I'm also a GD for the Google Assistant. And my latest little passion is Flutter development, so this is why I'm talking about that today. So this was the my pro profile. This is my personal profile. One part of my life, one of my biggest hobbies is playing location-based games. I don't know how many of you know Ingress or User Tonight, but I can bet that a lot of you know Pokemon Go. Pokemon Go was a really big hit 3 years ago. Everyone played it. I reached I have the highest level of Pokemon Go, but I also played the Ingress game before that. And now I'm playing Harry Potter Users Unite. How many people here know about this game, Harry Potter Users Unite? You never heard about it? Heard about it, okay. You heard, do you play it? Or have you tried? No, okay, yes. I wasn't expecting anything else because not a lot of people know about it. But it's basically Pokemon Go with Harry Potter stuff. Well, and it's really nice. Why am I talking about that? It's because my app is basically a tool for this game, and I've made also a game based on Pokemon Go. So this is why I wanted to talk about that. So yeah, so this is the outline. First of all, I wanted to share with you how has my personal Flutter journey been. Then I'm going to explain what the app does. I'm not going, of course, to explain all the details since you don't even know what it does. And I'm going to be explaining the takeaways that I have from it and the next steps. So my Flutter journey. Before the stable version, the 1.0, I was really skeptical about it, as every native Android developer is at first. Because well, I have to learn this new language. We just got Kotlin, and now I have to learn Dart. So yeah, so really skeptical about that, and not all of the native features were available. Google Maps was not stable at all. A lot of third-party integrations were not available. So yes, very, very skeptical. Then came December of last year. They had a really big event where they announced the first version, the 1.0. I was like, okay, it seems really cool. They seem to have a really something really solid, and I decided to try it out for the first time. And then from the beginning of this year, from January to March, I was really looking to learn and looking to online resources, doing code labs, doing very little small apps to try it out, and I really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was really cool. And then in April of 2019, for those who don't know, the Flutter team did a contest, a challenge. It was called Flutter Create, where you had to do a complete Flutter app using only 5 kilobytes of Dart code. I don't know if you realize how little 5 kilobytes of code is. It's very little. And you cannot do much with it. And but I said to myself, okay, I'll just do it. I had an idea of an app that I could do that was really, really small. And I gave myself an additional challenge. I said, okay, I'm going to try to do this app in 1 day. Because come on, 5 kilobytes of code, I think everyone here can do it 1 day. And I did it. And I pushed my app to the contest. I did not win anything, but I because, oh yes, you could win prizes for experience or for code or whatever. I did not win anything, but what was really cool from the team is that everyone that successfully submitted something to the contest got a certificate. So I got this really cool certificate for the app, and I got a second prize too because they actually did a marketing video with some apps. And my app got in the marketing video. For those who know Flutter development, there's even an Easter egg on this video because I think they did the animations using an iPhone 10 or something like that. And for this specific device, I had a visual bug. And you can see right here, I have an overflow of something. Well, of course, I have corrected, but it really surprised me that they put some visually bugged app on the video, but I was really happy about it. And it's on my GitHub if you want to check it out. So yeah, so this was, and yes, and I published for both Android and iOS. It's published on the stores. I have like 5 users. I don't care about it. It's just there. And I was pretty happy about it. My first really good experience with Flutter. And then the Harry Potter game came out. Of course, I was really looking forward to it since I like this kind of games. And on the first, well, it was launched globally on the end of June. And I was looking for like a cool companion or tools that could help me as a player to play better the game. And there was none. There was like very few apps that cover that. And I said, okay, maybe I should do something. And then I'm going to explain then what my app does. But only 3 weeks after the launch of the game, I had my first commit. And I think I published it, my first release was maybe 2 weeks later, something like that. So what does it do? So it's called the Registry Helper for Wizards Unite. It's a very bad name, I think. I was not creative at all with the name. If you looked for it on the Google Play, you can check it out if you want, I guess. And so what does it do? So I'm not going to spend a lot of time explaining the game, but one of the objectives of the game is to collect stuff. A little bit like Pokemon Go, you collect your Pikachus and stuff. And but the difference here, this is the game. This is not my app, the game. You can see it's a location base, so you can see the map, and you have these traces here, these models. Behind these models, you can have a bunch of creatures that you can collect, but you don't know which one is it, okay? So this one can be either of this one can be either of those ones. And you don't have to collect only one. You have to collect several, and then you gain experience. For example, for the first level, you have to collect 10 of these, 20 of these, 5 of these, okay? And then you pass to the next level, you have to collect 50 of these, 100 of these, and so on. And it's really hard to keep track of it. You don't know actually the state of your collection when you're playing the game, or it's really hard because what you have to do, oh yes, another thing that I forgot, that's you can have something like a lot of stuff like this, where you have several families, and you don't know which one do you need the most for collecting. So what you have to do is you have to click, you have to go to your registry, you have to go to the right family, you have to scroll, and oh, okay, I need this. So, so really a really slow experience for the user. So my idea was, while playing the game, to have some kind of tool that will help them check the state of their registry, basically. And at home, having really cool stats and visualizations, and then plan according to the data that you have. So this is the game. And my biggest challenge was, there are no APIs available. There are never going to be APIs. I know of that because of Ingress, because of Pokemon Go. There are never going to be APIs to this game. So my biggest challenge was basically syncing the data from the game to my app, and how do I get this data? The easiest for the user would be, this is the screen that you have, again, from the game, not my app. when you capture something. So here I just caught a vampire, and I have 13 over 13. So this one was completed. And it would be really cool to have like, you know, you can get like screenshots from the device, parse it, like do some kind of image processing, and then syncing back to my app. But I know that this can be done, but I was like, no, I need something really quickly. This is going to be kind of complex to code. And I actually don't know how to do it. I know it can be done. And I was like, no, not this for now, at least for the first version. So this is what I did. This is some versions of one screen of my app. Is that people have, users have to put in manually how many creatures they have for each one. And this was the first version. So a plus button only to iterate, and then those are text fields that you can input your data freely. The second version was the same, but when it was completed, I changed the style, and it was basically, yes, and I have some more screens. Here I only had this screen, but I encountered some problems, and I thought really typing in the data was not the best experience. And the thing that was really better, I think, was using sliders. So this is the actual version that I have now, is using those kind of sliders, again, with the plus and the minus button, and slider to put in the data. So these are some more additional screens from my app. This is the login screen where I can sign in with Google, do some anonymous login, and with this nice animation on the back. And this is the experience of actually using the app with the game. So this is the game, you have something, you basically switch back to my app, you can quickly check it, and then go back to the game. So this is really quick, and this is the experience of using while playing the game. And then, as I said, my app, the app provides you some cool stats and some things that help you play better games. So this is some stats and some graphs. I'm not going to enter into the detail, but this is just things that help the player make better decisions while playing the game. Okay, so I finished talking about the game. Let's talk about the project, the Flutter project. So these are the packages that are used on the app. I rely heavily on Firebase. Everything is on Firebase for the authentication, for the Google I sign-in, analytics, Crashlytics, Firestore for the user data. I have some stuff to scroll to index, which when I click on an icon, it scrolls to an index on a list view. Package info only to show the version of the app. Quick actions, I'm going to talk about that later. Shimmer is this effect right here on the title, the shimmer effect. And then tutorial, I have, when the user first opens the app, it has some kinds of helper onboarding experience where it says, oh, click here to see this, and the button does that. So this onboarding experience. And here you have an example too of dependency that is loaded not from the official repository, but from someone who forked it, because I had a very specific need for my use case, and the official package did not provide that for me. So I'm using the version from Vanetos. Vanetos is actually is really interesting because this is Gonçalo Palma, who helped with the organization of Flutter Exp. So I didn't know at all that that it was him behind it. And yeah, so it's really cool that actually I'm using his package on my app. So yeah, so thanks, Gonçalo. So what are the takeaways that I get from developing and publishing this app? So first thing, for me, as I didn't say by the presentation, but I was born in Brazil. I live in France, so I speak Portuguese. I speak French, of course. For me, as a very international girl, let's say, localization is really key, is really important. I really want to make my app available on a bunch of different languages, and there is no official package to do so. So here are some examples, maybe all of them, because I was really exhaustive when I was looking for it. Example of packages that you can use in order to basically manage your localization, your strings. Here you can have like the a score that is calculated for every package. So you can see there's a lot of packages that are really highly scored. So yes, I don't want to make that choice. I just want to use whatever works best, and I think it should be either provided by the framework or really have a really good recommendation from the team. It's good to have this many options and to be an open framework, but I don't want to make that kind of decision. I think it's a really basic decision that developers shouldn't have to do. So in a Flutter project, for those who don't know, you have this file that's called the pubspec.yaml file. For Android developers, it's kind of the equivalent of the Gradle file, where you have all your dependencies and all of your declarations of assets and everything, sources. So this is just one part of that file, the part that where you declare some resources. So here you can see the assets that I use on the app. One thing that I think it's nice is that you can organize your folders as you wish, and you just reference them here. And you can see here I have my images, and I have some JSON assets, and I just put them all on this folder right here. And here you have an example too of images that are optimized for some kind of density. So if you don't put anything, it would be like 1x. And if you put like 3x, it's for really large screens. Then here you have all the resources that are on that aspect. And then on the bottom part there, you can see the declaration of the font that I use. Of course, you can have several fonts. I only use one. And this is kind of good too. You basically put your basic font, and then italic one, and a bold one with a reference only to the file. So pretty nice. What about styles? Coming from an Android development, as I said, I really have a lot of experience with Android development. We have the styles .xml file, and the themes, same. We have some kind of descriptions about that. What about Flutter? Flutter doesn't have like a native way, or I don't know, the same way of approaching these things. So if you want to, you can put everything inside of a class. So you have some examples of text styles, of color definitions, even more complex stuff like describing some icon data. So yes, this is okay, I think. Still, my mind does not get accustomed to that, because I still like the way Android native development manages things in relation to this. But this is fine, I guess. So this is things that you can use in whatever place in your project. So let's talk a little bit about material design. So something that really kind of shocked, no, it didn't shock me, but it surprised me a little bit, is that it is way easier to comply to the material design specs by writing a code with Flutter in relation to the Android native development. You can understand that because Flutter is way more recent. So from the beginning, they were working really close with the material design team, and all of the widgets are material design by default, basically. And so I have an example here, where here you have a floating action button, an extended floating action button. The floating action button, you know, those round buttons that stay on the upper layer, and then they just float on our layout. On Flutter, you have a constructor that's ready to use, that's floating action button that extended. It will output something like that. On Android, since material is not by default on Android, you have to inherit on your styles .xml, your app has to inherit from material components. Then you have to declare a style for a button, which inherits from material components.button. And on your activity, on your screen, you have to declare your material button with this style. So a lot more complicated to do that on Android. Another thing, the slider. So this is the spec from material.io, so the material design spec of something that of a slider. This is one example of a slider done in Flutter, so this is coming directly from my app. Okay, it's not exactly the same, it's not exactly the same style, but you can see that it looks like the one that was specified by the material team. And then the equivalent that you have on the Android development, native development, would be the seek bar. Then you have several states here. You have the unpressed and the pressed state here. That does not look like at all as the slider material component. So another thing too, a very materially thing to do is transitions from activities that have a shared element. Just for example, maybe I can show you the result first. Here you have maybe a list with images. We click, you have this cool transition between elements. Very materially, very nice. How do you do that on Android? It's kind of complicated, it's doable, but I think it's too complicated. You have on your source activity, on your source screen, you have to declare these activity options, you have to put your source and your destination view, and then you launch a new screen, a new activity with this bundle right here. And then on your source activity, on the onCreate method, you do all these things, a transition name, and you have to do all this boilerplate code in order to do so. And the result is this, pretty nice, but yes, a lot of code to do only that. What about Flutter? Flutter, for those who don't know, has a really nice widget which is called the hero widget that basically does that. So this, we don't care about, this is basically my source widget. We don't care a lot about that. We only, the only important thing that makes my widget work with that kind of transition is that I'm wrapping a sub-widget, let's say a widget inside a widget, with this hero widget here. And the important thing is that I have to have a tag with an ID here on the source widget. And this is my, my destination widget, which shares the same tag. And this is everything that you have to do. The framework takes care of the rest. So the result is, this is inside my app. When I click here, I have this widget, this image here and the image here. They share the same ID. I wrap them on the hero widget, and it just works as expected. It does the transition really smoothly. No, not many codes to do that. So yeah, so really cool. I said, okay, so Flutter works really well with material. I came up with not everything is perfect, right? So I thought this mentioning this article is really interesting because there, of course, there are a lot of things that are really well done. I think in concerning the material design inside of Flutter, but a lot of things are kind of a mess, as this person say. I completely encourage you to read this article to understand further what the problems, some kind of problems that they have with the implementation of material design inside the Flutter. Overall, it's really fine for everyone. It should work okay. He really goes into the detail why it has some problems. Another feedback is that there's some stuff are really, really easy to integrate in comparison even only to doing that for one platform, for instance, only on Android. So in the app, I have this share option. So you can see how it looks like on Android and iOS. You have the share bottom sheet. I think everyone has already seen this kind of interaction on an app. And on Android, so basically they have a package ready to go, provided by the official package by the Flutter team, which is called Share. And you basically do, when you click somewhere or whatever, you do share.share with your text inside. and it just works, and it works perfectly well, and it's just really amazing. On Android, it will translate to the intent, action send intent, and on iOS to the UI activity view controller, and you can see the result right here. So really nice. Quick actions. I said that I wanted to talk about that later when I was showing you the packages. So quick actions, for those who don't know, it translates to app shortcuts on Android. So when you long press an icon on your launcher, you can have these shortcuts with quick actions that you can do on your app. On iOS, you first touch it. You know, you have to have those little vibrations. So only recent iPhones, maybe 3 years and earlier, do that. So yeah, so very similar implementations right here from the Android and iOS teams. And on Flutter, they are called quick actions. Again, simple package, really easy to integrate them. They work very nice. The only thing that I had to do that was platform specific here was the assets. The assets, I had to put them on the, for Android, I had to put them on the native Android folder, and for iOS, I had to put them on the iOS native folder. Otherwise, really nice, really easy to integrate. Some stuff is harder. Input, as I said on the beginning, on the first versions of the app, I had input made, the user had to make input by hand. So, by hand means showing the keyboard. One thing that you have to know, for those who don't know a lot of iOS development or don't own iPhones, don't know how it works, is that they have very limited buttons. So here you can see on Android, I have my keypad, I have the done key that is by default here, and on Android, I always have the possibility to go back with a back button, with this down button. It's always there. On an iPhone, on iOS, you have your keys, you have the delete, and that's it. You don't have anything else. When you do native iOS development, sometimes you can show additional row with some actions, but the basic keyboard doesn't have that. And no back button. So when a person was editing, if I didn't do any code, specific code, there was no way to dismissing this keyboard without any specific code. And on Android, it's easy because you always have the back button. There's a really nice package that adds all this functionality to iOS and, of course, to Android too. And it basically allows you to do that in a very simple way. I switched to the slider first because I really think it provides a better experience. But there's a solution to that, but you have to import an external dependency. Just so you know, it's not that easy to manage input on iOS specifically. What else? Product flavors. Again, this is something that I think should be completely, that should be provided by the framework, or the framework should have a good recommendation at least for it. This is something that is coming from the official documentation on flutter.dev. So they say, okay, you can completely do this, check out this blog post, or this blog post. Come on, I don't want to end blog post. They are gigantic blog posts because it's kind of a complicated a problem to solve. Each one has a different approach. Again, I don't want to think about it. I just want it to work. I want to do my integration, my QA, my pre-production, whatever flavors that I need. Paid, free, premium, whatever. Cool. They provide some guidance, but I just want something that works for me now, and I don't want to have to make a choice. Another thing, the red screen of death. One thing that happens in Flutter is that the app, my app has never crashed, like, you know, closed because of crashing. What happens in Flutter is that when there's a bug, when there's something that does not work on your code, the error widget which is the red widget, is shown. This is very, very bad. This should not happen in production. This is actually a screenshot done by one of my users that was sent to me. He was saying, oh, I did this, this, and that, and I got this. And I was like, this shouldn't be never shown in production. I think the actual Flutter team is working on ways of doing that differently. Maybe for debugging, of course, this is fine, but never on production. If you don't want to show it like this, you can override the red widget and do your custom widget with your style, saying, oh, something bad happened, and maybe some kind of custom behavior too. And so, because what I did was I integrated, if you remember on my package list, I integrated with Firebase Crashlytics, very known on the mobile world. And I said, okay, I'll just do my code, I'll do some testing, but I'll see if I have some crash reporting from Firebase. Actually, I have always 100% crash free because of that. But basically, the crashes are being silent, which is not a good thing. So yes, I forgot to say that by overriding the error widget, you can of course return your custom view and send actually report the crash to Firebase to Crashlytics, so you can analyze it. I have some people that have said to me that Sentry.io, which is another solution to reporting crashes, works pretty well. Have not tried it because this is a really small app, my side project app. I really wanted to limit my external dependencies, so I'm just sticking to Firebase Crashlytics. So another problem that I had was with the iOS build release build, sorry, which is really bad. I had, so basically I was ready to push another version to production, and I tested it on my debug mode. It was really fine. And then I archive it, I send it to what's the name of the thing? App Store Connect, the thing where you publish your iOS apps. And I said, okay, it's fine, it's working, I tested it, so I'll just ask for a review. You know, for Apple, you need reviews. And they said, oh, rejected, blank screen. I was like, what? And then I tested the version on test flight, because you cannot test it. Once it is archived, you cannot test it on a device. You have to actually test on test flight, which is the beta tool provided by Apple in order for you to give your app to your testers. So yes, so I had my app being rejected twice because of this blank screen. Some people have open issues on GitHub about that. They just say, oh no, just Flutter clean and Flutter build, it should be okay. The other one says, I don't remember, I did some upgrading of CocoaPods, which is a dependency management on iOS. Yeah, it just sometimes when you publish a release build on iOS, it would just, when you open the app, it would just be a blank screen. This is really bad. As for me, I had to I did the Flutter clean, Flutter build iOS, and I had to do it twice in order for it to work at the end, so really bad. They should really work into it. Just one thing, this is not an introductory talk, one of my favorite features of Flutter is the fact that thanks to the Dart programming language, you can execute your code in two modes. Basically, one that is optimized for development, and another one that is optimized for release. So this is just in time and ahead of time. And some people, when trying out Flutter for the first time, they do a list, and they build it on their device, and they say, oh my God, this is so laggy, Flutter really sucks, this is not cool at all. This is because they're on development mode. They are compiling Dart using the just-in-time compiler. which is, again, optimized for development. So all of the little changes that you make on your code that you apply for testing on your device uses the just-in-time compiler, and it's just sub-second. It's really, really, really fast. But the downside of it is that the performance is not the greatest. So here you can see I'm trying to do the same interactions, like sliding on my list, and you can see this is really janky, and this is the one that is compiled with ahead of time compiler, optimized for release, optimized for your users. So just keep that in mind. And this is a really, really nice feature of Flutter, the fact that you can have those two kind of builds. I said that my app had been rejected twice because of the blank screen. I omitted one detail, is that it was the rejection for test flight. These are my rejections for the real app store, for everyone to have it. If you remember well, the first version was only one screen with my details. And I said, okay, this is good enough. I'll publish to Google Play, I'll publish to Apple. And Apple basically rejected and said, oh no, your app is too simple. And I was like, well, okay. And then I included some more screens, and I sent it again. And I said, no, still too simple. Okay, and to this day, my app is still not available for everyone on App Store. Apple still thinks my app is too simple. So yeah, so maybe I shouldn't have published the very first version, which was only a list. Maybe if I tried to publish the one that had several screens already, it would be accepted. But yes, it has been rejected. I tried to explain it, why it is useful and everything. They said, no, 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 we understand, but please do something more interesting, basically. Unless it's a game. Because if you remember when I was explaining my first experience with the Flutter Create app that I did, 5 kilobytes of Dart code, very, very simple, one screen. It got accepted to the App Store, so yeah, whatever. So yeah, Apple. But as I said, I submitted to TestFlight. One really cool thing about TestFlight is that it's really easy channel for you to have a good contact with your users. And I was really surprised because I had people sending me feedback from the TestFlight app. And even with screenshots, one of the screenshots that I showed you earlier comes from a user. So really cool. I was really impressed to see people actually caring for it and wanted to make the thing better. Talking about community, the way that I communicated about this app was going to Reddit, because I knew about communities on Reddit of gamers, players playing the game. And I did the post, a very big post. The link is here, and explaining, oh, this is why you should do it and everything. I was really conscious about it because I thought, oh my God, everyone's going to hate it because you have to put everything by hand and you have to sync all the data all the time. It's going to be a catastrophe, but whatever, I'll just see what happens. And then this happened. These are the comments from that happened on the Reddit post. And there's maybe one person that said, "Oh, I don't see the point of this app." All of the other comments are really, really positive, really good feedback and interesting ideas of things that I could improve. You can see this particular one right here. This is one post that I zoom in here. So this person took the time to really detail everything that he thought about, ideas and things. Oh, you should maybe do that, I don't know, do some other stuff. So nice. It was so cool to see that people would take the time to give this kind of feedback. And then I had also some private messages, some people saying, oh, I'm learning Android, Android development, can I help you with the project? I had at least maybe 5 people total that said, oh, if you need, because I said on the post too, oh, unfortunately it's not yet available for the App Store, but here's the TestFlight link, because you can make public TestFlight builds. And they say, oh, I know iOS development if you need help with the Apple version, so nice. And so yeah, so people were actually so nice, and I have actually improved. As I said, maybe I did 5 or 6 releases already, and thanks to all this kind of feedback, I was able to improve a lot the app. So the takeaways. So the bad for me, localization should be provided by the framework. Resources management, I guess I put on the bad, but coming from, I really like the way that things are done on Android. It's okay, especially for the assets definition and the fonts definition that are on the pubspec YAML file. But for styles, I think it's weird to do to code in order to declare styles, basically. But it's okay. It's on the bad, but it's in the middle, actually. Crash reporting, of course, there's a again, is a kind of bad, but with a solution, which is wrapping the error widgets and doing your own reporting. Product flavors, again, should be provided by the framework. You should not have to make a decision to implement that. The good part, material design out of the box, really good implementation. A lot of plugins or packages or dependencies, whatever, are really easy to integrate in the work out of the box on Android and iOS. This is really amazing. The duality of a compilation that is optimized for development, the other one for release, are really good too. Community, I talked about the community of the people who have tried the app, my app, and have given feedback. But overall, the Flutter community is really open and really welcoming. So this is a really nice aspect of the framework. And overall developer experience too. Developing apps for Flutter coming from Android really changes from night to day. Really, from night to day is way better than the Android developer experience. To continue, I did not find any particular difficulty because of Flutter. For the actual app, of course, I have avoided some stuff like creating product flavors and stuff like that. But for my actual version, I had no particular difficulty. And another thing that I have, I am going to share some stats just after. But one thing that you can see that if you have a nice idea and you have something that it is useful, it's going to work. And a lot of people, I don't know how many people here are app developers, but one thing that we have heard is apps are going to be killed. There's no more place for new apps on the store. My app is 3 months old and has users that are using and liking it. One thing that would surprise me is that folks don't like Google signing. I have the option of doing a login with Google or either doing an anonymous login, and basically I have half and half. I have only half of the people doing Google signing in order, and I explain on the text, in order basically to back up their data and be able to log in on another device and retrieve the data. I have half of people doing Google signing. I don't know if it's because it's Google or they don't want another account. And maybe I should try out some other providers, I don't know. It's really easy with Firebase authentication. And of course, building community is key if you want your product to live. Again, this is a side project, so I don't have a lot of time to build it. But the community is being amazing. So next steps for me is doing the hard parsing of the screenshots to sync the data in a better way. Do some kind of push notifications too. If the person wants to have like a notification with useful data when they are playing the game, so why not? Doing localization when I figure out which package I'm going to use. I said on the beginning that I really like voice interactions on applications, so I really wanted to see how well can a Flutter app work with either Siri or the Google Assistant. And I wanted to try out, I haven't tried out at all, the web and desktop versions of Flutter. I know they're still in beta or experimental, but I wanted to try it out too. I have made the app very quickly. I have not put a lot of thought into architecture or how to really organize my world. There's a lot of duplication because I just wanted something that was working really fast and publishing it and having it available for me. So I have some major refactoring to do. I eventually want to do some continuous integration. It works really nice with Bitrise or Jenkins or wherever. What's the name of the one which is CodeMotion? No? CodeMagic. Huh? Yes. Yes. out-of-the-box integration right there. Doing some fast lane configurations too for deployment, for configuration changes and stuff like that. Managing flavors once I figure out which technique I'm going to do, and do some testing too. I don't do tests at all. Sorry? Okay. So this is my stats. So I said on the beginning also successful. What is successful? For me, it's basically having 5 users is successful, so completely relative word. So this is when I first published to the Play Store. Of course, no, I did not do any marketing, so no one knew about it. So this is my Reddit post on the beginning of August or the end of July, I don't remember. I gained a lot of users really quickly. And then one thing happened. Right here, it was maybe 23, 24 of September. This is the version 2.3 of the main app, of the game. For me, it basically turned my app completely useless. Because, as I said, it was an app that was made to have information really quickly. And what the version 2.3 made is that they put the information on a really useful screen that you could quickly access. So for me, it was like, oh my God, my app is completely dead. I have lost a lot of users. I still have a bunch of users. If I show you the, I cannot because not my computer, but if I show you the real-time data, I have not logged into Firebase and seeing 0 users. At any point of time there I have 3, 4, maybe 10 users using the app at this moment, which is really amazing for me since I actually don't know what they are doing. They're maybe looking at their stats and doing stuff. But for me, it's kind of, yeah, it's not that useful anymore. I used to use it every day. Now I use it maybe once a week, even not. But what happened is that I have really high ratings on the Play Store. I have people saying that they love it. This is an email that I got as I was saying, oh, do you need any help with the app for the new data and everything? So yeah, I'm studying Android, so if you need some help, just ping me. And people saying, oh, are you people actually expecting updates and things to work? And really recent, like from the beginning of September, after the release of the thing that made my app useless, people were still seeing the value, which is really cool. So definitely, yes, I'm completely going to continue developing it and integrating even more features to make it more useful. So for me, the next steps also is maybe doing some partnerships with people that do a lot of. There's a kind of underground community that really are hardcore players that want to crack all the things on the app. They do blog posts, they do articles, they have websites that are specialized with them. Maybe I can check if they want to do something useful inside my app. And I really want to accept the external collaboration. The code is already available on GitHub, but again, as I said, there's some major refactoring needed. I wanted to really do something really solid so people can, so I can start accepting external collaboration. And the final thoughts for me is that Flutter is awesome. My experience has been amazing. I really encourage you to try it out if you haven't already. Android native development is awesome too. It's my day-to-day work, and I really enjoy it still. iOS development is okay, I guess. I have had some experience with it. I'm not the biggest fan, but I know a lot of people who liked it, so I guess it's okay. Flutter will definitely not completely replace native development. Both of them, I think, are going to coexist for a long time. And final message, especially for those of you who have background in native development, mobile native development, is just keep an open mind about it, try it out, see how it works, learn new things. What is really nice about Flutter 2 is that the way that you declare your interfaces, it complies with this new paradigm on the with a lot of frameworks, which is the declarative programming way to declare UIs that is used by Jetpack Compose for Android and for Swift UI on iOS. So it is a really new way of thinking of how you can declare your UIs, and is the way that Flutter works. So yeah, so just keep an open mind and learn new stuff. And with this, I thank you very much.